true. We could use some fire in here. A little warmth would be nice. Rejection, an almost inevitable, I'm going to say unavoidable aspect of being a human, right? No one has ever succeeded in life or in life without failing or first facing it or having to deal with it. So here now to talk about how overcoming rejection led to the birth of her podcast, really and truly led to the birth of our stardom, is Terri-Karelle Reid. She is the host of, run back the prompter down the bottom. Redirection with Terri-Karelle, one of the many projects that she has birthed. And she's here with us this morning. Hi there.
Hi, Sim.
Hot girl.
You look beautiful, and I want your dress. I just thought I'd say that on national TV with the hopes that you would gift it to me.
You want it right now?
Afterwards.
Okay, because that would actually be our ratings high.
Good to see you, Sim.
How are you?
I am well. I mean, a little bit tired. We just did the first live show of Digital Rising Stars last night. So I was just here about 6 hours ago.
Yes, ma'am.
But happy to be back.
It's good to see you. And you're just tired because you're doing a lot of things.
I am.
You just come back from near foreign?
Yeah.
What was going on in near foreign?
A 4-day conference, the largest telecommunications conference in the Caribbean, and people over 30 different languages, countries, and it was just lovely.
Yeah.
The amount of things I learned in my job, I think that's what makes me a lifelong student.
Yes. Well, that's the best way to success, is to stay learning and growing.
Absolutely.
Stagnation equal breaks, and we don't want that.
Correct.
And one thing that teaches us how to do that is overcoming rejection.
Oh, absolutely.
And people would look at you in your life and say, what does Terri-Karelle Reid know about rejection? Apart from how to spell it. You do know how to spell it, right?
True.
Okay, just check it.
True.
You've had to deal with it in
Yeah.
your own life.
Yeah.
Has that been the springboard for your success?
I think so. I think allowing yourself to reframe what rejection means to you. I think typically when we speak about rejection, it's always doom and gloom. It's awful. It is equated to failure. I am a failure because I have failed. Something didn't work out. What will people say? What will they think if I do not self-actualize in the manner or the career that they assume that I would? And so we fear all the things around rejection, when for me, I'm just like, listen, sometimes you dodge a bullet because somebody said no. Sometimes you're not supposed to get the yes from this person. Perhaps the right person who's supposed to come on the journey is 2 steps down. And so I don't get caught up really in the rejection. For me, it's more of a, I wonder what the redirection is going to look like. And I found that that perspective has allowed me to kind of take it, not take it personally, and keep moving through.
Yeah. How long did it take you to build that kind of thick skin, or is that something that you had from the get?
I think that was conditioned.
Okay.
I think growing up with my grandmother, who was the matriarch, growing up with my mom, grandma always kind of telling you that you have to be solutions oriented. So for me, growing up, it's more of, I can't control everything. Life is gonna life. The question is, what are the things I can control? That's my attitude. That's my approach. That's my mindset. That is my ability to adapt and adjust. So instead of crying over the spilt milk and the things you cannot control, let's talk about what we can solve and what we can do now for now. And I think that kind of conditioning has helped me to be who I am today.
Was your veterinary degree spilt milk, or was that like a whole cow slaughtered?
Listen, I like how you put
More
it.
than milk.
I like how you put it. And even back in the day, I used to say, boy, you know, coming home and, you know, having the vet board say, you know, you're not accredited after pursuing the thing that you love, doing the subjects you love, going and getting the scholarship, you're learning your career in Spanish, you're coming back and you've done it all. And sometimes what you pursue just doesn't work out. So before I used to look at it as rejection, and now I look at it as the perfect redirection, because I'm bilingual, because I went to Cuba, because I studied a technical career, I think, as a host, hosting events from tech to fintech to health to finance to all kinds of things. And people always ask me, how do you internalize all this information? And I think it's because of the career choice, having to digest copious amounts of information. So for me, it isn't even a rejection. For me, it was just God saying, you needed to prepare. I needed to get you a little bit ready, a little bit equipped. And I just chose this as your incubator, really.
So then you've taken that, you've written your book, and I'm sure there are more coming. You don't have to tell me. Now Yes, man, cross it. Don't do that. If fly pitch on your face,
It gets
your eye
stuck.
won't go
It gets
back.
stuck.
No, another podcast, which you had started before.
I started in 2020. Funny enough, when COVID hit, everyone was furloughed. People were losing their jobs. I mean, for me, for example, the entertainment industry just stopped. Everyone was on lockdown. No one knew what the next move was. We didn't know the livelihood, the resources, uncertainty. And I was praying to God about it, because anytime these things come up, I take it to him in prayer. And I'm like, yo, what's going on? And there was just a calm. He's just like, you've been through this before, different context.
Yeah.
But you know what it is to start over. You know what uncertainty is, and you know what it is to just push through. And so I looked at my community and I realized that everyone was kind of despondent and everyone was leaning for help and support in spaces. So 2020, didn't have Zoom, never have mic, never have nothing. I drove into a radio studio. And when I walked in, the technician said, how may I help you? I said, I'm going to just record something. And he said, do you have your paper? Do you have your script? And I said, absolutely not.
Don't need those.
And I sat down for 12 minutes, and right then and there I said, Redirection with Terri-Karelle.
Yeah.
And I did not get my first guest until maybe months after, but I was just being obedient in the spirit. So 2020, the podcast is audio only. And I would find guests from all over the diaspora, the Caribbean, Jamaica, and that's how we started. And this year I said, you know what, let's do this with visuals. People have asked for the podcast to come back. And 3 years later, I'm like, all right, let's do this.
How is it now doing? I see you there praying with one of your guests.
Oh, yeah.
Which is something that I see you do often.
Often, absolutely.
How difficult is it now to get this done, to get it out there? I mean, you already have a platform, you already have a name, and you already have a community that is waiting and hungry for it. But is it something that you want to like transcend that and become even bigger and larger than it is now?
Oh yeah, I think every single time I've looked at a product, or I call it a labor of love, I think my podcast is a labor of love, because I really only did it out of support for myself and my family and my community. And I think it's always bigger. I think, especially for us as believers, I think for us in our little minds, we think, oh, this is just a little podcast or it's just a little book. But I think God uses us if we allow ourselves to be used. And so I believe that may God's will be done. I think it is meant to be bigger. So I found persons like even Blacker, who I just interviewed 2 weeks ago. Blacker, it's always he, ha, ha, ha. You know, laughter is his language. Life is his language. And then to hear him say depression, I have experienced clinical depression. It's like, how can I get some of these stories where people realize that rejection is not unique to you alone. Many of us face it in many facets. Most of us, and most of my guests are not known. They have no name, they have no celebrity status, it's just people. So people go, who? But then when they listen to their stories, they go, wow. And that's the impact
That's what
I'm
links
going
us
for.
all.
Yeah.
There's more that links us than divides us.
Absolutely.
We just don't know because people up until now have not thought it okay to share.
Correct.
But I find that COVID has helped us to realize that it's okay for us to say we're not okay and for people to know we're not okay.
Correct.
And that in sharing the stories that you're sharing through the podcast, people realize that they are a part of something.
Correct.
Not me alone.
Correct. And creating spaces where people feel as if they can trust and that they can be vulnerable, because there are places and spaces where I think people have been exploited. Their stories have been exploited. And so for me, I think I'm extremely honored and humbled when a guest says, I've never shared this with anyone before, but I'm going to share it with you and your community. I think that's a very humbling experience, and I take that responsibility extremely seriously, and I'm extremely sensitive to it. And so far, the feedback has been insane. Definitely better than
now? 3 weeks?
Just did 3 weeks, and we upload it every Sunday on YouTube, and the feedback, the impact, and each guest resonates with different people based on whatever the story is about. And so I'm just grateful to have the platform, to have the support, and to have people go, we would love to share our story with you.
Yeah. So how long is it going to be? A series? Is it a season?
It's going to be a season. And it's because I also have to pace myself, because I am one person. And every time I look around my community, my TK tribe is like, so when is the other book? And when are you going to do this? And so I'm pacing myself, because even recording the interviews, as you would understand in media, you're still hosting your events, you're traveling. My daughter is doing PEP next year. It's like, it's a lot. So having to find the time and then to do production of a high standard, which I want to give to my
Because they expect
community.
nothing less.
Exactly. It's a lot, but it's going to be a season.
Yeah.
And I'm just grateful.
So YouTube,
YouTube.
Overcoming Rejection.
Yeah.
Where do we just search for Terri-Karelle?
If you, absolutely. If you search for Terri-Karelle, if you land on my channel and you just click on podcasts, you'll actually get to see all of the different.
So we can watch all the old
episodes
ones and then work our way up to the
correct.
New season.
And season 1 is that's audio only, so you can only listen to that on the preferred podcast platforms. But this is, even though it's visual, you can still listen on Apple, Google, Spotify, Audible. So.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
I just want people to reframe what that looks like in terms of rejection doesn't have to be bad. Control what you can, be curious, and be courageous. And I think those are the overall themes.
Learn the lessons. Rejection is redirection.
Thank
you, my darling.
Thank you, guys. Thank
Good
you,
job.
TK Tribe.
Proud of
Thank
you. Keep on going. And we may need to look into that clone. We had somebody here this morning talking about AI.
Deep
yeah, I was just going to say, perfect candidate right there. Your personality, Terri-Karelle. Don't go anywhere, everybody. We're talking about ways to prioritize yourself in romantic relationships.
Great morning.
Dress.
Hey, we still come back. Who is calling?